Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Hi guys, welcome back. All for United. I've got some fellow All for United panel members. Some of which you may know, some of which you may not know. I've got Ben, although he seems to have vacated the screen for a second. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Ben? You can hear me.
Yeah, sorry.
There he is. How you doing, Ben? You all right, mate?
Yes, mate. All good.
Oh, brilliant. Faz, it's been the first time I've had you on a panel, mate, but I think we've spoken on Spaces. He did a bit of a segment when I was on Spaces that time, mate. So how are you doing today?
I'm all right. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, you too, mate. Mr. Ton, how you doing, bud? You all right?
Yeah, man, all right. It's all right. You know, another week, no transfers. You know how that goes.
I know you've been putting some work in, haven't you? I've seen all your Spaces this week, mate. You need some sleep, I think. So, Alex, how you doing, bud? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Just getting ready to rant about how badly we're on.
Yeah, good. And last but certainly not least, one of the favourites on All for United, Neil, how you doing, bud?
Favourites? God, the Shams gone down early from one of the favourites, by the way.
Well, you're one of my favourites, mate, that's for sure. So, yeah.
One of those favourites. I get more negative feedback than I do positive. I get more negative. No, I'm doing well. Definitely agree with my good friend Feynoord has just said. Same day, same shit, different day.
Yeah, good. Right, well, we'll get straight into it, guys. Neil, yeah, text Neil. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the kind of peripheral transfers. So we've got a few coming up that we want to talk about, and I'll be throwing them around sort of the panel really. Initially, I just want to talk about sort of where we're currently at with this. So where we're currently at with transfers, I think it's pretty obvious where we're at with transfers. But generally, obviously with kind of Timber now walking away, there's some rejection there. Are we still confident that we're going to make some of the signings that we have been linked to? Ben, kind of what's your thoughts so far? Are you getting nervous now, or are you still pretty confident that we'll do what we said we were going to do?
Yeah, I'm not getting stressed about it. I don't know the amount of people I hear and chat to in work, especially who get so emotionally invested in it, is unreal. Just let it plan out. There's a reason why they're taking their time. There's a reason why there's this process been put in place by him. So you can't sort of have a go at him when this is clearly the direction he wants to go in, just because we haven't made a signing instantly. So for me, I'm just going to wait until the end and then I'll assess it then. I'm not making a judgment on something that hasn't happened for me. So you have to let the man run his course and see where he goes with it.
How's everyone else feeling on that? Neil, you put your hand up there, mate. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you know what you meant, but I'm going to have to disagree on this because I'm probably old enough to be all of you, not all of your dads, but I'm old enough to be the dad of any one of you. But it's just, we heard all this, build all this stuff when Ten Hag was announced. We all got excited when he didn't do his notice period at Ajax, so he could come over and watch the last game of the season and see what genuinely the shit show like. And then we were all expecting, at least some movement, because he must have been thinking of players for some time. He must have been. And yet Villa made two pretty decent signings. Well, three if you include Coutinho. Before within a week of the season finished, Spurs basically spending money under a chair who's renowned for not, for leaving it to the last minute and not loosening the purse strings. We had Richard Arnold was quoted as saying, "We'll give the manager the money." So, as far as I see, either the scouting is wrong, the players aren't interested in coming to us, because at the moment we've got a pretty decent mid-table squad. Then you read movements that, Harlem was now on go to City, but the development today with them getting Phillips, it just makes my blood boil. And I was, anybody on earth who's followed me and listened to me on AF, Phillips was the number one signing as far as I was concerned that we needed to get a good defensive base to this midfield and to support the back four, whatever the back four is. But to me, he was the number one signing. But we haven't got a chance to get him. I thought once we didn't get Champions League football. But to now see him on for 40 million to City just makes my blood boil.
Yeah, I caught a bit. Your signal's dropping a little bit there, Neil, mate. It's just on and off a little bit. It's not totally off, but it's like I picked up a bit of what you said there in terms of Calvin Phillips, and I think that's kind of your point being that we've seen a lot of signings coming in and out across our, let's be honest, like immediate rivals at the minute, aren't we? And we're just sat there idly by watching these signings sort of pass us by. I mean, does anybody else want to jump on that? Faz, you new to at least my show on a Friday. Have you got a view on it? Are you still confident?
Sorry, Faz. Can I just qualify what I'm saying? It's not the signings that the other teams have made, which will be our rivals next year, and Arsenal. It's the fact that the purse strings have been released to allow them to make. I'm not saying there's any players that they've signed that I've signed. My only one is Calvin Phillips that has gone to City. But my point is, the purse strings were loosened immediately, and yet we haven't done it. And that's what worries me about this club, because it's different, same shit.
Yeah, sorry, honestly now, it might just be a case that, just struggling to hear you a little bit, mate, that's all. I caught catching little bits and it's just coming in and out. But yeah, no, I kind of, totally get your point. Faz, do you want to pick up on that a little bit? And how are you feeling kind of with the, the general, Neil's caught me off guard there, just dropped off. How are you feeling with the window, mate?
Listen, for me, firstly, thank you for having me again. Big up to everybody watching. Big up to yourself and the panel members. Big up Mr. Ton as well. Hope you're doing all right. Mr. Ton's always trying to throw cold water on me, trying to cool me down. But listen, my head is gone. Dividends day today. No signings come in. Newcastle are doing business. The same player that was offered to us for 60 mil has just now gone to City for 45. We're in the mud. Knee deep, neck deep, stomach deep, whatever you call it, we're in the mud. No player wants to come to us, let alone a player that we want to pay for. A free player ain't want to come to us. A player who's worried, who's not even barely played in international level, has heard a little bit from an international coach. He doesn't want to come to us. Now our goal may decide his future on going somewhere else. That we're probably we're gonna come on to later on. We're finished. And my head is fully gone. My issue isn't that the players aren't coming in. I want my manager to be backed 100%, not 98, not 50%, not 100%. 100% meaning the man came 2 weeks early for a reason. He ain't come 2 weeks early to shake people's hand. He ain't come 2 weeks early to look at the mural and the writing on the wall. He ain't come 2 weeks early for that. He came, he ripped Man United's list from the table. He put his list and said, go get me these players. If the board were meaning business, they would have known when they were going and speaking to him whilst before they signed, put pen to paper, when they were flying back and forth and they were going speaking to Ten Hag, they would have ironed out which players he wants. They would have ironed out which players he can improve, which players he wants to filter out, which players he wants to bring in. They would have ironed this out. They would have probably ironed out the budget and they would have started the negotiation. It don't take this long. Why are Ajax letting Gravenberch go? But when it comes to Anthony and Martinez, there's hoo-ha question. Nobody can tell me now that this is transfer market stuff. This is Manchester United curse. The whole world is against us. LVG done the dance with us. LVG said, Timber, your career is at risk. Your international career is at risk if you come here. Frankie de Jong, publicly at the biggest club, Barcelona, he don't want to leave. I'm hearing Javi might want to keep him in Barcelona, raise the money. Anthony, he wants to come. But then now Anthony's Ajax's manager is saying, well, you're taking all our players, this, the other. There's the Man United tax. The centre-back's worth 51.5 million. Ain't no way that centre-back's worth 51.5 million. We're getting done left, right, and center. We got done on the pitch last season. Now we're getting done off the pitch and in the transfer window. So yeah, I'm not cool at all, mate. I'm hot-headed. I'm on violence mode right now.
Well, look, I love your passion. This is like for me. I mean, we listened to all your spaces this week, and this is just a mirror image of that. And I know you guys put a lot of effort in it and a lot of things into that. Mr. Tom, go on. You've got your hand up there, mate. I can see you want to interject and add some.
Yeah, Faz knows I'm gonna call that down. Look, Ryan Gravenberch is a different situation. He has 1 year left of his contract. They have to get rid of him. That's a different situation, unfortunately. You mentioned a player that Newcastle. There was nothing, no credible journalist ever said that he was coming to United or we wanted him. No credible journalist. Nobody. Don't listen to Fabrizio. Nobody. Yeah. If you listen to me on Spaces enough, I was the first person, even when Leeds was still playing, that said Kevin Phillips is not coming to United. It's more like he's gonna go City. I follow transfers heavily, so I know. I said it from earlier. I'm always right with everything so far. I've been bang on with everything. So trust me, there's a reason why I'm bang on. Trust me. He was never coming to United, Phillips, whether people like it or not. Ten Hag didn't want that sort of defensive midfielder. I'm not him. I'm not in his brain, but he vetoed a lot of the targets and went in his own direction. I don't know why. That's what he wants to do. We can't question that. If we want to back our manager 100%, he wants to go all in for De Jong, clearly. We have to back it. And if you listen to whatever journalists, it's all different. All the journalists that come out from Spain are saying all conflicting stories. Everybody's saying conflicting things because they don't really 100% know what's going on. But to me, it's very clear what's going on, right? People are not looking at the facts. Barcelona, if they sell the player right now, can't use 100% of that money back into transfers. They can't. This is a fact. They can't do it, unfortunately, right? So maybe they're waiting to sign one deal, one of the deals that the assembly voted for, and then maybe get that money, that Man United pay for him, and then use that 100% transfer kitty back to a player. Because right now they will lose 25% of the money. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That we've got a backup manager. If he wants De Jong and he wants to go all in on De Jong, Faz, you think I'm happy with it? I'm not happy with it, brother. I want to transfer by now. But unfortunately, I want to back and trust what the manager wants to do. So I've got to get behind him. If he wants to go all in for De Jong, because everyone that's frustrated, all the fans, unfortunately, your frustration should be aimed at the manager because he wants this player. He wants him. Do you understand?
Go and sign Anthony.
Yeah, but
Faz,
Faz, you're missing the point here. This is Glazers. They clearly know, right? They clearly know. Cool. If we go spend this much money on De Jong now, right? We know what to work with, right? That's what's Ten Hag and Murtaugh, they know that. But they also know how the Glazers works. If they go start doing other transfers now and then come back to De Jong, they might not 100% get the money from the Glazers that they want. Do you get what I'm trying to say? They also know that. This is people forget we're still owned by the Glazers. So the manager. No, but we don't know exactly how much De Jong's going to be yet. Nobody knows. That's why they're trying to negotiate.
He's going to be 100.
Yeah,
he's going to be max 80.
And you have to also factor into it. This is a very key factor. If you don't get De Jong, right? This is a factor. He now has to change up maybe the way he's going to play. He's clearly probably got an idea of how he's going to play with De Jong. So once I get him, I can go for him. But if I don't get him, I now have to go down another route. Do you understand? So this is the things that people are not factoring in as well. There's a lot of factors into this. But our manager, Ten Hag, wants this player, whether I like it, you like it, all the fan base like it. That's what he wants. He's putting all his eggs in the basket for this manager. There's nothing I can do or no one can do about it, fans. Unfortunately, we've
But
got to get
when
our
he
seatbelts
comes
and buckle in.
and he's put the paper on the table and he's gone to Murta and Arnold, get me this. You man, this board, the so-called football people in football making decisions by Arnold, letting them delegate. My officials are in Barca making the deal. All this malarkey, make the deals happen. There are
But then-
officials in Ajax.
Yeah,
There's officials in Ajax. There's Man United
then
officials in Ajax.
But then the problem is, I've heard for the last year, or more so, the fans want us to pay respectful money, for players, If Man United are trying to get a bargain for a player, what is wrong with that?
Nothing wrong, but seems like
This is what
it's
I'm
always
saying.
tough for
So
us.
right now,
It's always tough for us.
Yeah, but
Man
they're
City
not-
went and
but-
got 45 mil for
but
Calvin
even
Phillips.
Man City, Faz, you do know Man City, right? They set a valuation on every player. I don't want to go on this for all day because I'm pretty sure Reece has got a lot of things we want to talk about. But yeah, Man City set valuation for players. If the club says no, they literally pull out. They pull out. That's what they do. They pull out. They will try to work a deal. Man City wanted Van Dijk. This is in their documentary. They wanted Van Dijk, but the whole package was too much. So they said no. Do you understand? So that's where Man United are trying to get a bargain right now, trying to negotiate. Let's be honest. Be honest, right? If we get De Jong for whatever price it's rumored to be, that's a bargain. Like, let's be honest.
Ain't problem, but Calvin Phillips was 60 mil for us. Calvin Phillips,
this is the problem, Faz.
was 60 mil for us, and it's 45 for them.
Forget
That's all
what
I'm
you
saying.
want or my preference. Yeah?
We're also Man United. Leeds have a different relationship with us.
No. Our preference, you have to remember, our preference, and the sort of midfielder that me and you want might not be the. Ten Hag didn't want Phillips. This is the problem. So there's no point of mentioning it. He didn't want him.
Yeah, I'll bring Alex in onto this just in a second, but just to add to that point as well on the Calvin thing, as much as he's a brilliant player, I think people forget that he's been out injured as well for quite some time the last season, and City can gamble a little bit on that player. I know Neil kind of wants to interject. I've got to let Alex have a say on this, but City can gamble. Us comparing ourselves to City at this stage, we've got to. We talked about this at the end of last season when we got to the last couple of games of the season about being realistic this season and comparing ourselves to teams that have got money to splash and gamble on players is unrealistic, and we've got to accept that. Alex, go on, mate, have a say on this. What's your view on the transfer window and whether it's going to be? Are you confident or where do your thoughts lie on all this at the minute?
I don't like the fact that I feel like we're basically in the middle of what is probably our biggest transfer window in, years, decades, maybe even. And, we don't seem any further along than we were on the final day against Palace. In terms of some of the points that have been made, I think you can't really question whether Ten Hag wants Phillips or didn't want Phillips or whatever is sort of irrelevant at the end of the day, because the reality is Leeds United are always going to charge more for us trying to buy one of their players, because at the end of the day, the two of us go back, we hate Leeds hate us. That's the way it works. And to be fair, would Calvin Phillips even want to join us? Because he's a Leeds boy through and through. Like, you don't know, there's a different relationship between Leeds and City and Leeds and United. That's the reality. In terms of other players, I think De Jong is obviously the one that Ten Hag wants. Fine. I don't agree with the idea that you just wait and just go for De Jong and then get somebody afterwards. Because the reality is, the longer you wait, the longer you push it into the window, the more likelihood it is a team's going to put the price up, because they're going to go, well, we've now got less time to replace that player. In terms of Ajax are always going to try and price us out of their players because we've just taken their manager. Let's not forget that. We've just taken their manager that's won them multiple league titles in the last few years. They're not going to come and go, oh yeah, and you can take like all our good players while you're at it, as well as the manager. They're not going to welcome that. The final thing that I would say regarding the whole Timber thing, I actually think, this is controversial, I actually think Van Gaal might have done us a favour. Because the reality is, Van Gaal, if you actually read what's been said, Van Gaal never turned round to him and said, if you go to United, I'm never picking you again. He turned round to him and said, if you go to United, you might not start. And if you don't start, then you're not getting picked. At the end of the day, if Timber's reaction to that is to go, oh, fair point, mate, I'll just stay in my safe zone, which is Ajax, then in my eyes, that's poor mentality. Because he really should have been turning around to Van Gaal and going, all right, fair, that's your opinion, but I'm going to go there, I'm going to challenge myself, I'm going to force myself into the team, I'm going to play well enough that I stay in the team and give you no choice but to pick me. And the reality is, from where I'm sitting, to be a United player, yeah, you've got to be technically good, but you've got to have it up here. You've got to have it up here. It's as much mental as it is technical at United. And you know what? If Timber's sitting there and he's been told, oh, well, you might not start for Man United, if he thinks he doesn't get into this Man United team, then I don't want him in this Man United team, because we've got a team full of weak-minded individuals as it is. And I don't see that we need... Yeah, I might be wrong with this, but if Van Gaal's turned around to him and gone, you might not start, and Timber's gone, all right, fair enough, I'll just stay at Ajax and start, well, then that's pretty poor. That's pretty weak in my eyes, because he's basically been set a challenge and he shied away from it.
Is everyone there?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, I just sorry, carry on, Alex. We just talking. Yeah, you just stopped there for a second.
No, that was pretty much all I wanted to.
And I quickly just touch on the Timber thing. I know everyone, it comes across like he's rejected us, but the reports from Holland, it didn't state that he completely rejected us. All right. And then if you go back to, I think it was like late May, if I'm correct, the Athletic did report from very early that Timber will make up his mind after his holidays. So everything that came out, it already reported, if people actually looked at the report, said that he will make up his mind in his holidays. And then from Holland, it didn't say that he's fully rejected us. It said he's thinking about while he's on holiday. Just putting that out there. He's not completely rejected Man United. He just wants guaranteed football, which makes sense to me. Whether people like it or not, when you think logically, you've got to look at the scenario as, oh, how many centre-backs do we have on our books right now? Like, I think people forget this.
What's your way in? And
no, I get what you're saying.
I personally disagree. Sorry, but I personally disagree with the notion of guaranteed football. I don't like that. You end up in the same situation as last season, where Rashford gets dropped because he was playing frankly shit.
No, I get what you're saying.
To his agent and go, no, but they're not playing me.
I'm
play your way into a team.
That's I get what you're saying. But
so you don't get guaranteed game.
The problem is people look at it from one side. As a footballer, regardless whether people like it or not, footballers, that's how they look at it. If I go to this club, am I going to start? Especially if there's a World Cup going on. That's why when there's a World Cup year going on and players realize they're not getting in the first team, they will request for a loan so they can try and see if they can fight for a place in a World Cup. I personally,
and all the players now, because the World Cup is on, they're gonna want this. Them or the agents are gonna want this. It's the best time for an agent to negotiate a minute clause within the contract. It's the best time. Every single player. If Eriksen, who plays for his national team, respectfully ain't gonna do much. Let's be real. Can his national team go and win the World Cup? Anything can happen. But doing a mathematical probability, no. If you do logic probability, no, he's not, or his national team is not. Yet he's also another person that says, well, I want to play first team. I want to play majority of the games, if not all the games, because I want to do well for my national team. It doesn't make sense.
Eriksen's a bit different.
It's the best time for any player to negotiate.
Considering what Eriksen's been through, if he wants to play football, then you can't really blame him for that. But at the end of the day, you're looking at, like, our defence last season. the goals we ship, that defense it's one of the worst United defenses we've ever seen. If Timber's looking at that defense and thinking, I might not get into that defense, well then,
do you think?
like,
I mean,
come on, that's.
I'll let Neil come in on this just after I make this point, and then Ben, I don't know if you'd be sort of playing, but just on. Sorry, Neil, just a bit of feedback there, mate.
Sorry.
No, you're all right. Yeah. So. Yeah. So I was going to say on the defensive situation. I mean, until Ten Hag comes in, I mean, obviously we know or we're hoping he's going to be this forthright coach who's going to come in with this kind of no messing around, no bullshit attitude, and that's kind of what we're hoping that he's going to have. Now, gradually he's going to work his way into the team. He can't come in and just like absolutely rip this team to shreds, because it just wouldn't work. You know, as much as we want to see him get rid of some players and stuff, he's got to work on what he's got as well. He's got to try and be tactical, or else he's just going to end up losing the whole dressing room and the whole club, and that's not going to be a good thing for Ten Hag. So obviously we're all sort of pinpointing Maguire, aren't we, and thinking, well, Timber can come in, take Maguire's place. It's not Football Manager. Like, it just doesn't work like that. You can't do that. You know, people still got contracts, and you can't just rip somebody out and rip somebody back in. So obviously he's got to take it steady, and if that doesn't work for Timber, that doesn't work for Timber, and that's fine. I do agree with you guys. I do agree with Alex that I think that there's a mentality issue there. I think he should be looking at United as a step up from Ajax, as much as where we're currently sat and where Ajax are currently sat. It's probably not looking that way, but I think there's potential. Obviously, he's got to look at the potential and the growth, and have a bit more about him in terms of that. And as a defender, you know, he could have a 12-year career at United if he put got his feet under the table. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I think there's a mentality issue there with Timber. I don't. I just think that it's probably not the right time for him in his career as a young kid who's, you know, had a good season at Ajax, who's made his way into the national team. It's probably not the right time to start gambling on that too much. I probably wouldn't think, which is not in our favour as United fans. I know we don't want to say that, but you can kind of understand where he's probably coming from as well. Neil, sorry mate, I'll start waffling. You have a shout, mate. You've been sat there patiently, and then we'll come on to Ben as well. Go on, mate.
You go, Ben. Ben.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
No, I think the centre back issue is twofold. One, like Mr. T said, we've got a lot of them. So for me, you need to address the first elephant in the room, which is midfield. Because if you address the midfield, that would inadvertently help the defence. I'm not saying it will quell all the issues with the defence, but you instantly then improve the gaping holes that the defence have to face. In terms of the Timber thing, one, like Mr. T said, we're stocked with centre-backs, whether we like it or not. Yes, we know the vast majority of them aren't probably going to have a career at United moving forward, but until Erik ten Hag is able to widen the dam, they're still there. So he also has to bear in mind that from a playing perspective, he needs to show any potential new investor of that player that they're fit and that they're actually playing and showing some sort of form. So he can't then just bring in Timber and go, right, well, these 4 players I want to get rid of. Because the first thing I'm going to do as a new manager at a different club is go, well, are they fit and are they playing? Well, no, because we're not seeing either. In terms of Timber's mentality regarding joining the club, you're screwed, because when the World Cup is, if the World Cup was next summer, that argument probably wouldn't hold as much water, because you'd have more opportunity to allow him to bed himself in to a point where it wouldn't be as counterproductive to him in terms of from LVG's perspective. But because it's not that long away, he's kind of got his hands tied behind his back in that regard. So you can understand why he's probably going to say, look, I need to play football. And with the issues that we have currently with the amount that we've got, even though you know he would probably be a starter, he's probably better off staying at Ajax in that regard, unless we were to have an absolute wholesale clear out in a rapid rate of knots. Then you go, right, we'll come in because you are going to get game time, or compete for game time against centre-backs that we want to keep, who are good enough to be in the system that he wants to play. But if he doesn't come this summer, you then just address it. Allow Erik ten Hag's scouts by that point, they've had a full season to assess any further candidates that he wants to bring in that aren't necessarily just going to be from Ajax, like everyone seems to think they will be. That we're just going to sign every single player from Ajax until Erik ten Hag leaves. His scouts will have a far more a better footing in the door in terms of the direction that he wants to go, in terms of the caliber of player that he wants to look at and the profile of player across all aspects of the team, front to back, and then go from there. The immediacy makes sense to sign the players that he wants to bring in because they immediately can hit the ground running. There is no lag with them because they know everything about what the managers are going to ask them, other than they don't know what Manchester's about. That's the only thing they don't know. So all these issues that people keep coming on about with, like, oh, he just wants to sign Ajax players because that's all he knows. Well, one, that makes common sense, and two, the position that he's in, it makes a logical sense to do that. If he went and signed 5 players that we've never heard of, everyone would be, the first thing people would say is, well, who are these players and what does he know about them? How are they going to work in this system that he wants to play when they've never played it with him? So no matter what he does, he can't win. That's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, no, it's tough, isn't it? It's tough. I mean, and we're getting linked to everybody, every man and his dog at the minute as well. So that's not ideal, is it? But no,
the problem you also have, Reece, is the fact, and I mentioned this the other day to somebody at work, is you've got the perfect storm with the way the world is now, with how big and powerful social media is. So every single thing that anyone does that's public is scrutinised to the nth degree, and there will always be an opinion of it. So Erik ten Hag coming in now, every single thing he does will be scrutinised, good or bad. So he's never going to have a chance to breathe because there will always be opinions just for the sake of having an opinion, because of the way social media is and the powerful tool that it is, good and bad. And that's why I see such a diverse range of fans from United.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough for him all around. I mean, the whole task of it is tough, isn't it? The fact that he's new, the fact that it's pre-season, the fact that he's, he doesn't know the league particularly well. He's got everything stacked against him, really, to be fair. So I suppose as fans, all we can do is just, as Mr. Thompson, I suppose, is trust the process. I do get Faz's, anger and frustration with it. I totally get that. I think we all share that, to be fair. We're all frustrated, but because we want to see movement, and especially when other teams around us are starting to make some movement and make some signings, and seemingly strengthen up. We've got to trust that those acquisitions, that the targets he's got out there, he's gunning for them. Like, so De Jong is going to be, as Mr. Tan, you've said it, he really wants De Jong. We've got to trust that, regardless of what we're hearing on Twitter or in the news or whatever else, wherever you're seeing it, that 1 minute it's close, 1 minute it's not. We just got to trust that it's happening, and that's all we can do as fans. We're sat here, we're sat in the passenger seat, aren't we, and watching it happen. So
I feel you have to extricate yourself. For me, sorry, Faz, I think you have to extricate yourself from what every other club are doing, because we can't constantly, like we always do, compare to every other club. You can't do that. You have to sort what's in your own house. We have to sort in-house first and just focus on in-house, because if you're constantly looking out the window, you're missing what needs addressing inside the house. All we do is look at what the clubs are doing and going, oh, look, he's done this, he's done that. Well, hang on a minute. Let's just focus on what we need to actually do, not what other people are doing, and spend our time wisely.
Faz, I know you want to, well, let me just come to Neil, mate, and we'll come back to what you want to say there, and then we'll jump onto some of the rumours as well. So I'll let you come on to your point, mate. Neil, go on. What were you? Have you got a view on what the guys have said? I know you want to jump in on some of the discussion points.
Neil, your microphone's not working. I think you're trying to speak, but it's not working. Sorry.
If you just jump on your settings, mate, it should sort of.
Hang on.
There we go. We can hear you now. Yeah, we can hear you. Got you, mate.
Right. So one thing I will say about this relationship we have with Leeds, because all fucking hate Leeds, and the passion that knows no back. But we've been doing business with Leeds since the 70s. We signed, older than all of you are, we signed Joe Jordan, we signed Gordon McQueen. We also signed one of our most iconic players that we've ever signed, Cantona. We signed Alan Smith, who was on video on TV saying he'd never signed for United. So the lead thing, as far as being able to do business with them, is, as far as I see, is a load of BS. I'm not saying I don't think we got Calvin Phillips because we can't offer him what he wanted. But it's a shame that we weren't in the mix. And that's my point about being Man United. We're not some run-of-the-mill club, which is the way we have been the last couple of years. We're not. Anybody who thinks we are, then they need to move on and don't support a run-of-the-mill club. I don't get the other players, other clubs have signed other players. But I get the piece. The person that clearly have not been released. But the problem is, the system that we got, it still ain't fit for purpose for a club of our size. We're linked with players that, I mean, I'm along with the others, I wasn't overly impressed with Timber. And if he doesn't want to come, just then balls to him. So we need another centre half. Also, I'll take umbrage with the fact that do you think that's something a centre half to replace Maguire or Varane? Given one of them can play every week and the other one plays 2 games, pulls it there for 3 months. You can't build a defence around a centre half like that. So we need 2 centre halves, not just one. Because if you're looking at Timber to replace Maguire, you need someone to replace Varane in mind. It's just bloody hard in United and at the moment, that's all. I'll sort my headphones out.
Sorry, mate. Just jumping in and out, Neil. We'll try and sort it out for you, mate, and then we'll get you back on if we can. Fellas, sorry, mate. Did you want to? You wanted to make a point, didn't you, mate? Just on that last thing.
Yeah, I just want to say, I don't trust anyone at all. I ain't seen them do anything. A season ain't gone past.
Even the panel.
No, no. No. I mean, from the club's perspective, I don't trust any man inside the club other than the manager. Other than the manager, Cristiano Ronaldo, David De Gea. That's it. Ain't trusting no one else. I can shake it. Ain't trusting no one. I don't care. Ain't trusting no one. My heart got broken in pieces. Absolute pieces. We are saving money here, giving dividends there, buying a goalkeeper for 4 million, yet the roof is leaking. Yet we ain't got a screen in Old Trafford. Yet the toilets look like upside down from Stranger Things. The club is in disarray. I ain't trusting. When I see changes, when I see players coming in, this time next year, we're in a better position. They're doing some infrastructure work with the stadium. When I see these type of things, okay, Arnold, okay, Murta, you got a bit of my trust back. Other than that, I ain't trusting no one. I swear, I don't compare my team to other teams when it comes to transfers, but what I do is go back to history because that's all I have. I can't predict the future, right? But my present is defined by what I've been witnessing. These football people, I'll trust them when they give me something to trust them in.
To be fair, they've only been in the job 5 minutes, so you can't expect them to change the stadium in 5 minutes. To be fair, I'm not. That's why I don't trust them. You can't. When they've been in the position, how long's Richard Arnold been in? About 6 months. I mean, you can't expect them to change the stadium in 6 months. That's not plausible at the end of the day.
Yeah, but some people can put their trust in them, or some people can sit back and relax and think, football people in football positions ain't happening with me. I ain't trusting no one.
I don't trust them.
But
it's a bit unfair to criticize them for not changing the stadium when that's physically impossible.
The owners are here. The owners are here. They taking today's dividends day.
The owners are scum. The owners are cancer that are eating away at the heart of our club. And for where I'm sitting, there will always be a limit to how far we can achieve until such time as they're gone. But that's the reality of it.
Yeah. Neil's wandered off. Well, look, guys, it's been a very quick 45 minutes. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the Spaces-esque arguments. I quite like it because normally used to having these spaces, so it's quite refreshing. So yeah, we'll keep this going, but we're going to move on. We're going to move on to some selections that we've picked for the show in terms of some peripheral players that maybe not so much in this first one we'll talk about, but some of the other ones maybe. But the first one we'll talk about is a Martinez one. So I kind of want a probability. So a score out of 10. 10 being it's likely to happen, 1 being it's very, very unlikely to happen, and obviously everything in between. So I want a bit of a score. So I'll give you a bit. We'll talk about the player. Give you, everybody a bit of a chance to have their say on that player, and then I want a score at the end. So we'll do that, and then when it does happen, and I can come back to you in about a year's time and say, you want to give it a 3, Faz. Ha ha ha! It actually happened. Then I can call you out on Twitter. So that's how it's going to work. But yeah, no, all joking apart. No, so the first player we want to talk about is Lisandro Martinez. Is that likely? Is that likely to happen? Obviously, as players drop off, other players drop in, and this is another one. I can see Mr. Tom scratching his head as if he's thinking, I've talked about this player about 20 times this week, which is fair enough, mate. But you're gonna have to do it again. So I apologise, but. Ben, I'll come straight to you and get your views on this, mate. Do you think Martin? First of all, give us all a synopsis. Do you think Martinez is likely to happen? Do you think it's somebody we need? How do you think he'll fit in? Give us kind of your brief overview on the player, mate, and the likeliness out of
10. In terms of if he'll arrive, if we're going on the basis of what we've discussed, reference Timber, then the probability is probably high. So I'd say probably like a 7 or 8. In terms of the actual player, I actually really like him. He's, from what I've read about him, he's kind of almost a bit of an unsung hero for Ajax in terms of what he offers the team. He's what I call, like the multifunctional player, in that he's someone that you'd need in the team. So rather than having 11 people that all do their job brilliantly but aren't adaptable, he's the sort of player that you want in the team, and especially with the way Erik ten Hag plays, he's got that ability to be able to fluctuate in and out of positions if needed. In terms of cost, I don't know. It's like a pie in the sky question, that is, because the amount of figures that you see bandied around with our club. The thing as well with Ajax is, I think a lot of people don't factor in is they actually don't mind structured deals, because they don't have the capital like a lot of clubs do outside of Holland, in that their league isn't as publicised as much as other leagues are from a commercial entity in terms of football on the TV. So they prefer structured deals because it's that guaranteed income over a period of time, rather than it all coming in one go. They actually don't mind it over a sustained period. So I think in that sense, you're going to save money, and you don't have to put up a huge fee up front, and then you can obviously spread it. But no, I think the player would be good. I think he'd obviously be a vast improvement on what we need. He has the ability to obviously play in that position that you'd want him to, alongside Frankie de Jong, for argument's sake, because we don't have one that's sort of in that mould, that's got that a bit of IQ up top to be able to understand what Frankie de Jong wants to do on the pitch, and obviously he knows where Erik ten Hag's going to want from him. So yeah, I'd like him, but obviously I'd say a 7. I mean, I feel for Mr. T, because he's going to have to be like a monk by the end of this, because he's probably spoken about this guy about 400 times. But no, I like the player. I think it's a good player. I also like Alvarez, the other guy that plays in the middle of the park for Ajax, who's not really been thrown about that much in the press, but I'm sure will do, because obviously where he plays. But Martinez, I think he's a good player.
Yeah. Faz, what's your views on it, mate? Overall player, in terms of, does he fit United? Is it someone you would like to see at United, and out of 10 likeliness of him signing?
He reminds me a lot. When I've watched him a little bit here and there, because obviously when the name's attached, you go and watch. First thing you do, you go and watch his clips. He reminds me slightly of an Eric Bailly-esque. The way he does his tackles, his confidence on the ball, the way he moves around players, the way he's able to go past the certain players for a centre-back, for a defender. He's played loads of games for Ajax, which is a really good thing. That means he stays fit. But the price tag 51, 50 million, 40 million. Numbers have been thrown around that region. No. Looking at the budget, it ain't happening. It's going to be a 2.
We've been down the Argentinian centre-back, or at least defender road before, haven't we? Not too long back as well.
He ain't happening.
Is it gonna...
Not happening. I would probably give it a 0.5. He ain't happening.
You can give it 0.5 if you want. I'm only writing it down.
Yeah, I'll give it a 1. I'll actually give it a 1.
You've got a 1 out of 10.
I'll give it a 1. It ain't happening. But he reminds me of that little Eric Bailly-esque, and I would have really liked Eric Bailly to be given a bit more chance under Eric Ten Hag. See if we can squeeze something out of him. There's a lot of players that are staying, considering Eric Bailly's injury situation. He doesn't stay fit. If he could stay fit, I would prefer Eric Bailly. I've seen glimpses of Eric Bailly that I like, and I would have liked him to stay and do something. I don't know if he's going to stay or if he's leaving. Not heard anything, but based on that, he reminds me of Eric Bailly-esque. So, yeah.
He's got to go. Bailly's got to be out the door. Sorry.
Well, Alex, I'm going to come to you, mate. You want to take that on as well? You have your say, mate, on this, on the Martinez one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, obviously, Bailly got brought up. I think Bailly needs to go. You can't. I mean, the guy's made of glass. Although, let's be honest, if we try and sell him, he'll probably get injured getting on the plane to go and get his medical or whatever. That's the reality of him. Martinez is good. You know, obviously, he is a great player. You can see what he'd bring to the team. I like the fact that I do feel like a left-footed sort of centre-half. I feel like that might, I feel like that could maybe benefit us rather than just having the two. I know you can have a right foot and a right footer together. Of course you can. You know, Vidic and Ferdinand are maybe the greatest you've seen together as a partnership, and they were both right footed. So I think this sort of left-footed side would help. I like the fact that, as has already been touched upon, that he's sort of flexible in the fact that he's not just a centre-back. You know, he can play left-back. My understanding is he's quite, he's well-versed at being defensive midfield as well, which is obviously a bonus for us. In terms of, he definitely, he's a great player. How we, adapt to the Premier League, well, reality is we don't know how sort of any of them will adapt. The thing in terms of a centre-back, the thing that might worry me is the same thing that would maybe worry me with Timber, which is the fact that they're both like, what are they, like 5'8", like they're on the short side for a centre-back in the Premier League. I mean, can you imagine a 5'8" guy jumping against Haaland? I mean, Lindelof gets bullied, and Lindelof's like 6'1", so that would concern me a little bit. In terms of the likelihood, I mean, I feel like at the moment we're just getting linked to every single Ajax player, and God knows whether we actually want every single Ajax player. It's just like the media are just going, well, the manager's from Ajax, he did really well at Ajax, so he obviously wants to buy his whole Ajax team. So likelihood, I'll give it a 5 probably. I'll sit on the fence. I'll sit in the middle because it's difficult to know. Because do we actually want them, or is this like another Wesley Sneijder where we just never actually wanted them in the first place?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think you're right. I think in terms of it has been linked to players, it's just it's going to happen, isn't it? I think that's just naturally what's going to happen, and I think we've just got to. I think it's, with the season we've had and the team that we've had, I think anybody coming in a fresh face and with the season that we've just had, the fans are going to like welcome them with open arms, because that's just naturally how we feel at this moment in time. We feel so sort of pissed off about how it went that we just want to see somebody coming in and changing the dynamic of what we currently have. Mr. Ton, I'm going to come to you, mate. I feel like you probably should have put a recording on of the stuff that the amount of times you've said this and just played it next to your screen so you don't have to say it again. But I'm going to ask you again, mate. I've not asked you before, but I'm sure you've been asked it or you've touched on it. But the Martinez one, go on, mate. Have you say? Albeit it's more of an exclusive for Alfie United from Mr. Tom. But go on, mate.
I'll be honest to you. I don't really rate him that much, and maybe it's because in comparison probably to Timber. Timber is probably the better one to buy. He has a higher ceiling, in my opinion. Next to each other, Martinez, he has so many errors. He's very error prone. Anyone that's actually watched him, that's what I'm saying. Because I've watched Ajax, I understand he's error prone. It's crazy. So don't get me wrong, he'll fit in because he's left footed and we don't have a left footed one. But I just feel like there's better centre backs out there if I'm being honest. And the height thing, I don't think the height thing's a big issue. But once again, I would prefer Timber because Timber, if anyone's got access to BT Sports or any Champions League games, you can watch Timber against Nunes and Haaland, and he didn't struggle against these players. Do you know what I mean? Apart from one goal that Nunes scored, I think that was a cross, but he didn't struggle against these players for his height. Do you know what I mean? That's why for me personally, it would always be Timber because I'm basing them two off against each other, and if they're quoting the same price, because that's what they are. The reports from Holland, they're quoted at the same price. I would prefer to go for the player with the highest ceiling, in my opinion. Yes, he's versatile, but that doesn't mean he can play. He's a guarantee to play in those positions. And anyone that knows how Ajax works, that's how they work. They like multifunctional players. So if they got injuries or anything, they can cover because total football is about rotating positions and covering each other's positions. But that doesn't mean that that's that player's position just because he can cover at left back and he can cover at DM, if that makes sense. That's not his actual position. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, man, I'll be honest, I'll give that like a 4.5. I'll be honest with you, he's not there. I feel like there's better left footers in Europe, centre backs than him, in my opinion. And I do get it. Ten Hag, like I said, I try to always take my preference out of it. Ten Hag might fancy him if you can't get Timber because it will help for his system, but I just feel like in my own preference, there is better left footers out there.
So you think it's a 4.5 that it's likely to happen? Do you think it's unlikely to happen, or do you think?
I feel like the Timber deal is still there. I generally feel like the Timber deal is still there because the fact that they're saying, look, if you want the fact that this week all the reports from Holland has been, if you want this player, you pay this and he's yours. Do you get what I'm trying to say? If you got to read between the lines sometimes. It's not as dead as much people as many people think it is.
I mean, you just got to be careful what you read. I think until it literally happens and it's like he's there holding a United shirt, which I mean I don't know what any. I mean we've seen leaks of United shirts. I don't know if any of them actually exist for next season. Whether we're just going to be playing in like skins next season, because I don't know if we've even got an home shirt yet. But at some point, somebody must be holding a United shirt for next season. And until somebody does that, I just will not believe it. So personally, but no, I get your point, Mr. T. I hope the Timber thing is still on. I really do. I think that'd be a massive one for us. I think he'd be a massive player and a big boost for our back four. Neil, come on to you, mate, because we're stretching towards the hour, and I know you had to sort of dart near a 10, and we've still got a couple of players to talk about. So your views on Martinez, mate. Oh, we can't hear you, Neil.
So forget that. That didn't work. So unless Timber is the second coming of Daniel Passarella or the Martinez, they ain't worth the money. So I'm fed up with this club being held hostage. I mean, I know it's not our money it's not our money that we want the club to spend, but I'm sick to death of us being held to hostage. So I'm slightly hypocritical, but I'm slightly agreeing with other people on the panel. But there's nothing I've seen of this Timber guy. He looks like he's 8 stone ringing wet as far as I'm concerned. And if you're going to be a centre half, you need to have some oomph. I'd rather Luke Shaw played as the left-sided centre half than, because at least he's a proven Premiership footballer. What worries me about all of the transfer signings that we've got, are they proven Premiership footballers? Even the manager's not proven at the Premiership. So this could be a shit show waiting to happen. I'm not saying. I'm just saying everything's on the table. This could be a disaster. Well, I mean, Guardiola wasn't proven when he came here, but we all thought, yeah, he'll be all right. But I just worry about his are the club keeping the powder dry because they just want to see what Ten Hag's like, because pre-season starts the back end of next week, sort of, well, the following Monday, doesn't it? So maybe, I don't know. I think the only transfer we're going to see in the next 7 days is the Glazers getting 11 million quid out of the club today.
Yeah, which is it was a big shame, and I'm sure Callum will have a fair bit to say about that. Oh, Ben's dropped off. I'm sure Callum will have a lot to say on that on his Sunday show. I know he's got one coming up on Sunday as well. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, obviously that it's frustrating. It just adds to their woes, and it's almost like they seem to be doing it for sport, don't they? When the fans are in this position of frustration, and yet, the Glazers are carrying on as the Glazers are. But just to keep it to Martinez and Neil, what's your rating on that, the likeliness of that happening? Whether you want it or not, what do you think the likeliness of him signing for United is out of 10? Then?
Can you hear me?
I can, mate. Yeah. Yeah. What's your Neil? All right. Okay. I don't think you can hear me. Right. Okay. Well, we'll move on. We'll move on to Malacia and Williams. Really, we're just kind of like in double tandem. So we're looking at another left back, but potentially going to have a young left back leave. So is this kind of a good move for us as a club to be seeing a young kid like Williams go? I mean, obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had such a lot of time for Williams when he first sort of took control of the club, and then obviously last season he was put out to loan, put out to Norwich, and he's had a pretty average season, I would say. But what's everyone's views on Williams leaving and bringing in another young kid in to sort of replace him? Is that something that we should be looking to do? Ben, I'll come to you first, and we'll randomly go across the panel. But is it sad to see Williams sort of potentially be leaving on quite a cheap deal as well? 10 million, I've heard it's going to be. Is that something that we should be willingly letting happen? Oh, Ben, are you there, mate?
Yeah, I can hear something in the background. It's not me, so.
Is it Neil? Neil, are you there, mate? Can you hear me? He's muted it. Okay. We've got some big technical sound issues on the show today. Yeah, Ben. What? Yeah. Sorry, Ben. Did you catch what I said there?
I would sell Brandon Williams. I don't think he's at the standard we'd need. I know obviously his loan spell at Norwich hasn't gone great, but that's not a reason to keep him. If you can get some money for him, at the end of the day, he came through the academy, so whatever you get for him is a bonus. I would also get rid of Tellez. I don't like Tellez. The Malacia thing, even though there's reports today that he's going to Lyon, I like the kid. Yeah. He's done well in the games I've seen him for Feynoord. He's obviously not the finished article by any stretch of the imagination, given his age. But I think he's got far more growth than the current left backs we have, especially when you factor in his age. But I also like Alvaro Fernandez, the young lad that we've got. I'm not again saying he's going to be the answer to all our prayers, but I think we have to be ruthless with what we've got and go after. If we're going to go after somebody like Malacia, then I think that it has to be with a view to. He's going to come in with someone who's proven as a left back, who has got the ability to push the youngster on, but also that person know that this kid's got something about him where he can also come in and push them as well. Because if you look at Shaw's not really had any competition. I know Brandon Williams played a bit under Ollie, but he was never someone that you thought was going to push Shaw on to be consistent and keep pushing and progressing and want to better himself. Tellez comes in and he's no good in my view. So, as in terms of competition, if I'm facing someone who I know is not really going to be playing week in, week out, you've not got that pressure to raise your game. So, whereas I think this young kid would do, because he's got the proven ability of playing regularly for Feyenoord. I know obviously people will say it's only the Eredivisie, but it's also a plan that you're going to back youth and then have someone in front of him to progress him along as well. But I would sell Brandon Williams. I don't think he's good enough.
Do you know? I mean,
I've got nothing against the kid. I think he could do well for somebody, but for what we need now and in the future, he's not for me. That's just my view.
Right. Faz, what's your view on this, mate? Have you got a view on it? I suppose it's not one of those like kind of romantic signings and interests, but in terms of, obviously he's still a Man United player, and it's a big position that I think we need to get older next season. What's your views on it, mate?
Look, I think in Norwich he's had a good and bad-ish time, if you could say, with Manchester United as well. But if he wants to move on, he can move on. I don't see how he would be the more ideal fit for Erik ten Hag at this time anyways. Plus, we've got amazing talent within our under-23s. That kid, so I've gone to see Fernandes, I think, 7 times last season. I've seen the under-23 7 times or 8 times last season. And boy, that left back Fernandes is a top player. And I do not want to do this. I know people get at me is when we gas players up, when we hype players up, but I really enjoyed watching him. And he seems like he'll be a lot upper echelon player than Brandon Williams. Real upper echelon player. Him, Kubi, who plays in midfield. It's unfortunate we let Melo go. But there's some talent in there, and I won't be heartbroken if Brandon Williams goes, in all honesty, because there's Fernandes coming up the ranks. So yeah, that's kind of my 2 pence on that.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just he's a young 21-year-old kid who's not really much of a chance, and we're going to be getting in a 22-year-old lad who's pretty unproven as well in the league. It just seems a little bit of neutral business to me. Alex, what's kind of your views on it? Did you agree with with Faz and Ben? I think we have got some good kids coming through as well, haven't we? And Fernandes is obviously a standout candidate, really. But again, we've got a lot of good kids coming through in different positions in the youth team as well. Are these players going to have the opportunity to find their way into the team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Fernandes, kids talented. We can all see that. Obviously, there's ways to go, because obviously he's not had that sort of first team breakthrough yet. Although hopefully that'll come this season. I'm sure we'll see some of them in pre-season. Leod obviously is talented right back, but I think he's been sort of screwed over by injuries and bad loan spells. We keep screwing them with loan spells. With Brandon Williams, is he good enough to be a United player going forward? Probably not, with all due respect to him. I love the kid. I love his attitude and all that like that. In terms of this season, I'd probably keep him, to be honest, because he's, in terms of as a squad player, he can play left back, he can play right back. If I'm looking at which, I think we need to strengthen both fullback areas, but I'd personally be prioritising right back before I would be prioritising left back, because as much as Luke Shaw's inconsistent, we know that if you can get a tune out of him, then he can do a job. Then he'll be fine for the time being, at least. I think at right back, in my eyes, if we're strengthening the fullback area, then right back is where you want to strengthen, because you've either got a player who is, you've got Dallo, who's become like a myth within the fan base. People seem to think he's this sort of, an incredible player going forward. He does a few nice turns and then fires a cross that's so far over everybody's heads that folk in Rose's head are ducking, at the end of the day. And defensively, he's weak. And then you've got Wan-Bissaka, who offensively always looks like a robot and doesn't seem to know how to move. And then defensively, I actually think he's awful defensively, in terms of he's amazing at slide tackling, but most of the time he slide tackles because he's been caught out of position. because of his awareness, and whatnot. The fact that he's probably the best light tackler I remember seeing is so by the by. So I think we need to strengthen both fullback areas. I'd personally strengthen right back first. By the looks of it, yeah, the Malacia kid, he's or however you pronounce it, kid's talented. That's obvious. It looks, if Fabrizio Romano's right, then it looks like he's going to Lyon, so there's not much in it for that. But yeah, going back to Brandon Williams, I think this season, if we're talking this season alone, then I'd probably keep him just for the fact that, push came to shove, he could play either fullback position. And you know what? Considering the shit that we saw last season, at least that if he plays, at least he's going to give it his all, and he's actually going to, be willing to bleed for the shirt. And that doesn't make him good enough in the long term, but in the short term, you could do worse.
No, definitely. Well, it's as I said before. I think we've got a fair few options in that position coming through, haven't we? And I don't think it's necessarily a position that we're. As much as I think we do need to get the fullbacks sorted. I think it's a major part of football these days. When you look at the bigger teams, the main parts of their team are the fullbacks, are the focal points of the team, aren't they? You look at Liverpool's fullbacks, you look at City's fullbacks. Again, we shouldn't sort of necessarily compare ourselves identically to them two teams at this moment in time, but I think that there are areas that we need to get sorted. And I think going forward, we've been weak in those positions. And for Brandon, on a personal note, he's probably got to look at his career as well and think, is it likely that I will be United and getting a game and playing every week, and what do I want to be doing? So for him, on a personal level, for his career, it's probably the best thing that he does and moves on, and probably the best thing for United as well. Well, Mr. Toller, I was going to come on to you with this, but I think we've kind of done it justice. And you wanted to touch on, I know you wanted to touch on Ronaldo. Now, I've not seen as the reports maybe today that you've maybe seen. Maybe you've got some bigger insight than I've got. I know we touched on it a week or so ago when there was rumours around Roma and all that kind of stuff. But do you want to kind of start the ball rolling on this, and we'll finish the hour or finish the video, the kind of segment on Ronaldo and kind of where your thoughts are with that?
I said a few weeks ago in the channel, and majority of the panel was trying to jump down my neck. About Ronaldo. At the end of the day, he decides when to leave Man United, and not Man United decide to get rid of him. And like I said, he holds no sentiment to Man United. Whether fans like that or not, he holds no sentiment to Man United. And from when before the season ended, there was a lot of reports, especially coming out from over his waters, that his agent Mendes is trying to shop him out there, look for opportunity for him. So the reports today, there's nothing new. They've been coming out all week. They've been coming out last week, but they're not new. These reports have been coming out for a while back now. The journalist reported today about how Mendes was trying to shop him to Bayern Munich, and Bayern Munich said no. So it don't surprise me about what's happening with that situation right now. With Ronaldo, I've always put that clear, and he done this whole he went on his Instagram last season and put a whole paragraph how he's staying at Juventus, and then look, he left Juventus, left them high and dry last minute. That's Ronaldo for you. If there's an opportunity, and we all got to understand this, to play in the Champions League, I'm pretty sure we all know Ronaldo's taking that opportunity. The only problem is his wages, right? So if he doesn't have that opportunity, then he's going to stay at United. But if there's an opportunity that comes up, and he can play in the Champions League at least for one more season, because you never know, it might be his last season at the highest of his heights, right? So if he can get opportunity to play in Champions League, he's going to take it. Whether fans like it or not, there's no sentiment with him at Man United, and fans need to get over this. He left us. He always wanted to leave us to go to Real Madrid. I remember that, and I was like, at the time, I was thinking, this guy, you know what I mean? I don't want to call him the C word, but at that time when he the way he, you know what I mean, the whole the whole period when it was going on, because people forget it was going on for years. Him wanting to go Real Madrid, he was always saying that's my dream club for years. Do you know what I mean? Flirting with them for years. So I remember that, and that taught me then. He doesn't hold that sentiment, that love that I have for United. You know, yes, he's come back because it's an old club, but he could have went anywhere. To be honest, it doesn't. I don't like I said, if the opportunity comes up, he's going to leave. Mendes is clearly out there and trying to look for opportunity for him. Ronaldo, there's been a lot of reports coming out. Apparently, he's not been happy at the moment with the club situation. There's a lot of reports right now this week, but these reports started a while back. They're just like, it's only the English media and more credible journalists are picking up on it. That's all it is right now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like I said, we spoke about it a bit last week. I totally agree. I mean, I remember all that Real Madrid kind of shenanigans, really. And I remember the season. I remember when we won the Champions League. I remember the kind of interview in after we won it in 08, and I just remember him. I remember that season he would have gone. He would have gone that season, and he didn't. He stayed for another season, and then obviously we didn't retain it, and he kind of went the season after, didn't he? And I totally remember that, and that's just Ronaldo. Ronaldo's there for himself. That's why he's succeeded at such a high level for such a long time, and broken all these records and done the things that he's done in the football. Because if he didn't have that mentality and he didn't have that persona, he wouldn't have succeeded, would he? You know, and that's just the way that he is. But I think we spoke about it last week when we said whether he stays or he goes. If he stays, we get the benefit of Ronaldo. Erik ten Hag will find a way to play him. Ronaldo will find a way in the team. Ronaldo will score goals. He'll provide benefit to the team. If he goes, Ten Hag, I'm sure, will find a way to stop, to fill that gap in. And Man United will move on and it'll survive without him, and Ronaldo will go off and do whatever Ronaldo wants to do. So either way, there's positives there, and I think we just got to take what if he stays for another season, we've just got to enjoy it as much as we can, and that is what it is. I think to be sad about it is pretty naive, I think, and I don't think any of us are sad about it. By the way, I just think like to dwell on it and be sad about it is pretty naive. Ben, what's kind of your views on it, mate? Do you think it's likely to happen that Ronaldo will be leaving? Mr. Ton, what's your likeliness on that, by the way? It wasn't one of the players I had down, but we will put a likeliness down because it's, out of 10, mate, what's your likeliness factor, Mr. Ton?
My likeliness of what? Ronaldo staying or going?
Ronaldo going out of 10, mate. Or staying, it depends how you look at it, really.
I'll say, so it's 50-50, man. I'll say 5 because it's 50-50. Ronaldo is unpredictable, man. He's so unpredictable. He done this. It's because I saw what he done with Juventus last year and saying that he's going to stay, he's looking forward to this season. And then just done a complete 360. Yeah, it's 50-50 for me. If we had Champions League, I'd be like, Ronaldo staying. 120% Ronaldo staying. But because we don't have that, is why I'm like, it's 50-50.
Yeah, fair enough. Ben, what's your views on it, mate? Just we'll finish up. We'll do a couple of minutes, and then we'll come to Alex, and then we'll finish it up. But what's your views on Ronaldo? Is it likely to happen?
I think Ronaldo will do whatever's best for Ronaldo. I think the problem you have recently, which I've noticed a lot over the last few years, is people get drawn so much on sentiment. Sentiment is a glorified word that people love in this world of football that isn't reality. If everything was built on sentiment, no player would ever leave the club that they were at. So Phillips wouldn't have gone to Man City; he'd have stayed at Leeds. Sterling would never have left Liverpool. You know what I mean? It's used when it fits a narrative, but it's then thrown at the player when it's to fit another narrative. So for me, if Ronaldo goes. There's no point crying over it. It is what it is. For me, I personally think it would actually be a benefit to Ten Hag because I know people will jump on a bandwagon and go, oh gosh, Ronaldo, but he's going to leave eventually, and he's 37, going on 38. You know what I mean? He's not jumping into a time machine to go back to when he was in his prime. So if he actually went now, in some ways, you're giving Ten Hag 12 extra months to put a plan in place that's going to benefit the future because he's going to be able to implement it now. If you keep Ronaldo, not that I'm saying he's going to be horrific, but it's hard to then start implementing what he wants because he knows he's there. So for me, it'd actually be a saving grace for him in some regard if he goes, because you've removed that huge elephant in the room.
What's the lightness out of 10 that you think he will he'll probably go then?
Well, for me, it's night and day. Whatever way he gets out of the bed. If Jorge Mendes comes into him and says, "Look, take a wage cut, but you're going to play Champions League football for one last hurrah," I think he'll go. And because if it was that much of an issue for him to not do these things, he'd never have left Juventus in the manner that he did, like Mr. Ton said. He would have stayed, or he'd done it far sooner to give the club time. But he saw an angle. Mendes worked it for him perfectly, and he thought, "Yeah, that's the way I'm going to go." He knew United weren't in the Champions League, but it was the whole coming back to United, so it was all positive for him. Whereas this season, going into this season, should I say, it's whatever. He knows also he's against the clock, isn't he? Every second that goes by, he's getting older, and that chance to play is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So naturally, you're going to be, selfish.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Reese. Today the reports were coming out of Sky Sports in Germany as well. That's where they were coming out from. Sky Sports. Yeah, that was actually Sky Sports Germany. Ronaldo and Mendes, the situation.
Was that kind of indirect link to the Lewandowski Barcelona bid? Yeah. I might have kind of seen some of that. I put you down for five there, Ben, so you firmly sat on the fence there. Well,
I was going to say, imagine if PSG sell Neymar, who's the perfect foil to bring in. Ronaldo and Messi, they could afford it, obviously, given them. Well, Mbappe is the chairman, so if he wants to sort of play him.
It's almost, I mean, it'd be magical for the world to see that, wouldn't it, in a certain sort of way, but is it likely to happen? I'm not so sure. Alex, what's your views on the Ronaldo thing? We'll finish upon you on this one, mate. Lighting this out of 10 for Ronaldo going. Do you think it'd be a good move if he does go? If he stays, do you think? What's your views on it generally, mate? On the Ronaldo news?
I think largely, the panel have sort of hit the nail on the head. Mostly, I think if he stays, he gives you what Ronaldo gives you, which is he will score goals at the end of the day. He will take his chances, he will score goals, and he'll give you that, and that's fine. I disagree. I see a lot of people on social media who are like, "Oh, he'd never leave United in this mess. He loves us too much." As has already been pointed out, Ronaldo, I love Ronaldo, but Ronaldo only loves one person. In terms of football, Ronaldo only loves himself. He doesn't, he left United at the height of our powers. So why would he be against leaving us at the bottom of the bottom of the pile, so to speak? So at the end of the day, like I said, if he stays, he gives you what Ronaldo gives you. But I've been saying for a while, a lot of people have been going into it like, he's got to be a key player. He's got to play every minute. He's got to be that. I've been saying for ages. I think we need to sign a striker this summer. People going, but we've got Ronaldo. It's like I actually don't care whether we've got Ronaldo or not. I think we need to sign a striker personally. I don't see Rashford as number 9 because I think we've been there, done that, and we already know he's better out on the left. And hopefully Rashford can re-find his form, but I don't think he's a number 9. I think we need a number 9. And my worry about even signing a number 9 with Ronaldo was, how do you explain to Ronaldo that he's not going to play every minute? Because he's 37, he can't play every minute. If he does play, I think towards the end of the season, the reason he came back into a form, I actually think he benefited from the fact that we were out of everything. There was no FA Cup, there was no Champions League. It was just, we played once a week. I think he benefited from that because he had those rest periods, because he can't just, and what we saw, what worried me was sort of, I always think back to was that the 3-1 win away at Brentford when we were like 3-0 up, 80th minute, and the game's done. You've won the game. Perfect. You're 3-0 up, 80th minute. It's annoying that we conceded, but that's irrelevant. And, he gets substituted and he, for lack of a better word, throws a tantrum like a child, stomps his feet, and is all sitting in a huff because it's like, well, you're 37, mate. You know, it's different if we were 1-0 down and you've been substituting. That I could understand because you'd be going, well, why are you substituting them? But yeah, at the end of the day, that's my worry, is the fact that if he stays, he can't play every minute. He just can't. If we're relying on a 37-year-old playing every minute, and we're playing, you know, Thursday nights, Sunday, Wednesdays, you know, Saturday, Thursday, you know, that kind of schedule, then that's not going to work. He can't play every minute. And if every time he doesn't play a minute, if he's, you know, either stomping off the pitch or, by the sounds of the rumours, got told he wasn't starting against City and decided to jet off on holiday, which isn't a great look either. Like, people seem to forget that, but that's not. If that's correct, if that's what he did, then, you know, for all this talk about how bad the dressing room is, then that's just as bad as anything else at the end of the day. If that was his attitude, oh well, I'm not playing, so, you know, I'll see you in the week. I'm going to go get a suntan. That's, you know, so yeah, I think if he stays, he gives you what Ronaldo will give you, which is the guarantee of goals, because the man's a machine. We know that. If he goes, anybody crying themselves to sleep over it and going, oh, I never thought he'd do this to us. Well, they're living in, with all due respect to them, they're living in the cuckoo land, because, you know, like I already said, and like everybody else has already sort of pointed out, he left us at the height of our powers. He left a team that is arguably the best team Fergie had. You know, I know we had the you know, but like, you know, it's arguable that the 2008 side arguably might have been better than the 99 side. I know they didn't achieve as much, but, you know, there's an argument to be made there. You know, he left arguably the greatest team Fergie had, because at the end of the day, his dream was Real Madrid. Fine. You know, people forget that, yeah, as was already pointed out, that went on for a few seasons. The only reason he stayed the extra year was because he did a favour to Fergie. I think there was an argument in the middle of the season where he referred to us treating him like a slave. Well, I wouldn't mind being a slave if I get 250 grand a week. You know, that sounds all right to me. So, you know, like I said, all due respect to Ronaldo and all due respect to people who, you know, live by his every word, but Ronaldo will do, as has already been pointed out, Ronaldo will do what Ronaldo wants because he's Ronaldo, and that's all he's ever done. And I don't think he's loyal to anyone or anything. You know, that is that's part of what's made him as good as he is, because he has been, you know, what, not to take it on a tangent, but, you know, people talk about, you know, the divide of, like, when they were younger, Rooney and Ronaldo were sort of a similar level teenager-wise, and people talk about them taking divisions, and people go on about, oh, well, Ronaldo's a physical specimen, and Rooney maybe didn't look after his body quite ideally. But there's also the different tangent of Ronaldo was me, while Rooney was always team. You know, there was always that divide in terms of that. So, you know, Ronaldo will do what Ronaldo wants. And, you know, I'd settle the fact, yeah, to rate him, yeah, I'd say it's 50-50, because it's what Ronaldo was. You know, whatever he wants to do, he'll do. If he stays, great, we get what we'll get from him. And if he goes, then, you know, he's probably only here one more season max anyway. He's not the future. So,
well, yeah, that's the point, isn't it? You made some good points, Alex, and the rest of the guys. I mean, it's I suppose the position we're in at the minute, we're at the start of a new transition, a new period for United, a massive new period, and hopefully a start of a period where we see a long and prosperous one for Ten Hag. We see, you know, various new teams under him playing fantastic football, winning loads of different things, and that's something that we all hope. And I think Ronaldo is that epitome, that kind of that example of what is old of United. the old style of United. He's the last kind of piece where it's as much as we all love him, he's a legend of the club. He's still successful, he's still knocking in goals. He's this big character in world football. He represents something that and a place where the club is not going. It's not going Ronaldo way anymore. It's going in a different direction. And I think that's probably the reason why I think if he does go, then obviously everyone would. Regardless, we'd obviously wish him all the best regardless, I think. But if it was to happen pretty suddenly, then I think we'd understand, and I think it'd probably be the best thing for the club in terms of the direction that it's going, provided we get the signings that we all are hoping that we do get. Guys, it's been an hour and 20 odd minutes. It's been brilliant. Enjoyed having everybody on. Ben, Mr. Tom, Alex, Neil earlier on, despite his a couple of issues with his mic. We got some good points from him, and obviously Faz earlier on, very passionate, so great. We had loads of people watching as well, so thank you for everybody watching and everybody adding their comments into the chat. So I appreciate that. Again, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, do all the good stuff. Follow us on Twitter. You pretty much all do anyway, and catch us on Spaces. Catch the guys as well. They all do random things for the AFU channel. They're all on either during the week or hosting one of the Spaces. So catch the guys on the panel here if you can, and follow them as well on Twitter. Yeah, guys, I appreciate it all. We'll catch you on the next one. I think the next show is on Sunday night with Callum. So catch you that. I think it's at 9 o'clock. So please catch that one. It should be a good show. I think there's some sort of special coming up. We're all waiting with bated breath on that one. I think there's some special guests. So yeah, don't forget to catch that one. But yeah, appreciate it, guys. And we'll all catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.